All right. Good evening, all. First of all, I hope everyone and your families are well. This thing continues, and appreciate the time that all you are spending with us tonight to do this. Sorry, Tom, but I'm going to pick on you a little bit. I hope all of you understand that Tom is in the process of recuperating from a recent surgery and has been, basically working from home.
That hasn't stopped me from bothering him.
Yeah, Tom, how we doing?
I'm doing better. I appreciate it. It's healing well. Cast is off, stitches are out, and it's just another every day a little bit better. Hopefully for the next couple of weeks.
What happened, Tom? What happened?
Just some orthopedic surgery on my leg. Nothing too crazy, and I don't want to gross you out during the dinner hour either. So. I appreciate the good well wishes. I
didn't want to put him on the spot. Just simply wanted to make sure the commission was aware. You can contact him privately if you want. It's not a big deal. It's just we are a family of folks, and we like to recognize when somebody's going through a little something a little different in their lives. So the meeting being called to order, and me not being prepared to have the agenda right in front of me.
Minutes.
So we have the minutes from the January 28, 2021 meeting. That was all sent out in an email ahead of time. I take it you've all had an opportunity to review it. Is that correct? Does everybody thumbs up or a wave or something? And do I have anyone that wants to make any addition, deletion, or modification to the minutes?
I have a change for the minutes. Oh,
go ahead.
You want to
Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, go ahead. I was at the last meeting, but I didn't make the roll call. So I just wanted to make sure that I got added in.
Thank you, Rachel. I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
All right.
There was one little correction too that needed to be put in there, Dave.
Sure.
It's very, very minor, but the Shea food at one point is referred to as Shea hospital food, and I'm sure we don't want any association with hospital food because we all know what that tastes like.
And the spelling was incorrect as well.
All right.
That's my fault. That's not Heather's. That's mine.
All right. So, Tom, we've got then, I think the more important change, not the spelling, but the fact that we're not serving hospital food at Simsbury Farms is really significant. So great. I again, ready one of those things. I appreciate people actually taking the time, looking at them, paying attention to them. So, Tom, you're going to take care of that?
Yep, I will take care of it.
All right. With that being said, with the modifications, I think I need to do this. Can I have a motion that we adopt the modifications as presented this evening?
Motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Jerry.
Aye.
So may we place these on the record, but with a unanimous vote of the modifications as we discussed.
So moved.
All right. So, this dreaded time of year that we have to elect like some guy named chairman and a guy named vice chairman.
I'll nominate Dave Bush to be chairman of our commission.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll second that too.
All right. So, again, I appreciate it. Do we have I'm not even going to do a discussion on this. It'd be ugly, I'm sure. Do we have a vote on my being nominated to continue as chairman?
They don't know Robert's rules.
Yes.
Again?
Aye.
The record reflect the unanimous vote from what I can tell, because we do have we have Chris. Chris is actually the advisory. Okay. And then for vice chair.
I'll nominate Kelly.
And I'd like to second that. Kelly, I just, in support of Kelly, he doesn't need it, but I love, Kelly, that you have your pet projects that are so identifiable and so important, and you champion those projects. And I think that's the beauty of having a right-hand man is, hey, look, I may be over here with Jerry Wetchen on the golf course and with Tom on the pool, but you've got sidewalks and lighting and flowers. And So, dude, you've done a great job. I can only support your nomination.
Thanks, guys. Hey, can I just say something quick to everybody? We all are volunteers, and I'll say the same thing for the Board of Selectmen as well. It's a volunteer position, and I appreciate the time that everybody puts in, and the same with the Board of Selectmen. You guys are unsung heroes, and everybody deserves a pat on the back for the amount of time that it takes out of their personal lives to go and do what they do and what we do. So thanks to everybody.
No, great comments. Great. But I'll call a vote. Those in favor of Kelly continuing as vice. Aye. We'll see that Kelly didn't vote for himself, but that's a unanimous vote as well. All right. So something that, for a long time, we might never imagine we were discussing is a smoking policy in town parks and recreation facilities. Tom?
So I think I brought this up a couple of years ago, but we just, with me start getting my feet wet, there's a lot going on. So we kind of got away from it. But I am very interested, as is the town manager, in kind of tightening up a no smoking in our parks and recreation facilities. If you've been to one of the ball fields, it does say no smoke. Little League may have a regulation that says no smoking within 50 feet of the fence or that kind of thing. And I believe we do have some no smoking signs posted around the farms, around the pool and the rink. But if you're following the news lately, there is, and this isn't the only reason, but there is a possibility that the state could move forward with approving, obviously, legalizing marijuana use. And certainly this has got me thinking a little bit more that, a lot of our parks and public spaces are certainly community-oriented spaces. They are public spaces where children and families are. The Flower Bridge, Simsbury Meadows, the playgrounds in town. And I think it's important to get out in front of what could change, as far as legalization of marijuana in the state. And obviously the health risk associated with secondhand smoke as well is something we should be concerned about, whether it's tobacco or anything else. So what I'd like to do is get your support or have a discussion and get some support for the town to move forward with I guess it would be a smoke-free policy in our parks and recreation facilities.
You going to include the golf course in that, Tom?
So that's what I'm hoping we would discuss here, is what your thoughts are on that. If we send it forward without the golf course being included and what that would look like. Certainly I'm not going to go out. I don't want to go out on my own here and assume what you guys would support and what you wouldn't. So Dave, I'll let you lead the discussion from there. You've heard what I'm looking to do.
I get it. So what I really feel is the first and foremost aspect of this is we've all seen now in the news, the governor is certainly promoting legalizing recreational use of marijuana. And I'll make it simple. I think that we absolutely need to have a policy that on park and open space land, we are not permitting, even though it's been legalized, we are not permitting recreational use of marijuana. Now, we all know that smoking of cigars and cigarettes has existed as long as the drinking of alcohol, but they've always been divided a little bit from a standpoint of you can designate places like bars that you drink alcohol and you can't have an open container. As a lawyer, I know that. But people are allowed to smoke a cigarette or a cigar in an open space area. Tom, I actually believe that what I'd like to do with this is I'm not looking to do anything from a motion standpoint till we know where the governor's going. I do believe we can divide this and I think we should before we get to the golf season, because we haven't had an issue of smoking up at the golf course. But I think our new purveyor may help us with that. I saw that we might divide these issues to say we should have smoking cigarettes, pipe tobacco, cigars policy. But I'm all over I don't want any kids. I don't want any adults. I don't want our parks being your recreational marijuana use sanctuary. But I do. Go ahead.
Dave, where does electronic cigarettes come in with this too, with vaping and, kids do carts, which have marijuana in them. You wouldn't even know it. So you have to think about that too.
Yeah, smoke free is vape. No, nothing that can be used to inhale. So yes, vape pens, hookahs, anything you can think. Any smoke free means vaping as well. That's what to me it means smoking or means vaping as well. And most of the regulations examples I looked at.
What I am sensitive to as a golfer, and I'm not a cigarette smoker, is that we do have patrons that are cigarette smokers. And we all know it's important that we continue to make our facility welcoming to the same standards as other facilities around us. Don't have to like it, but it's the way of the world. And revenue generation, we've seen time and again with all the things Jerry Wetchen, Tom, and I have been through with the subcommittee. Revenue generation of the golf course is key. So that's why I thought what we wanted to do tonight was introduce the idea that we really need to have a serious discussion about this. And this is one, for even if a non-golfer, I think all of us probably have an opinion about what you think you want to see at a baseball field in the bleachers or at Simsbury Farms, or for that matter, a guy walking down a trail, at Stratton Forest. So I think it's a more kind of larger issue than just tonight, but we wanted to let you know we're thinking about it. And then Tom, I want to turn it back to you. How would you like to approach this moving forward?
Hey, Dave, it's Chris. Before you ask Tom that, I think so. As from an advisory standpoint, you've got two converging things. I think maybe you're short circuit the process. As you said, opinions. I think I respect the concept of smoking bifurcating. I think you as a lawyer are going to start to have a challenge how much you slice and dice this, and really becomes an issue of enforceability. So it's an all or none. If you go with tobacco smoke free and or smoking free, just like alcohol free, I think you're either going to go all or none. It is the antithesis of what you all stand for. Parks and Rec, one of the tenets is health and welfare. So you shouldn't have a problem. You're thinking about this from an economic standpoint. What's the economic impact potentially of telling somebody they can't smoke? But you're all about health and welfare too. So I think you've got a leg to stand on as a steward of that. All that being said, I really suggest that this gets referred over to Bobby D, because we have no tobacco use, no smoking policies on town-owned property as they stand in certain aspects. So really, how does that mushroom out from that consideration that's already there, and how does it get expanded to other facilities and other areas? I think that's maybe where you refer it off to first before you have Tom draft up anything and say, if we went down this path, Bob, how would we go about it? What would you recommend we do as is current with other municipal policies that are out there that other towns are facing that you're either consulting with or a partnership to? That would help you, I think.
Oh, Chris, absolutely perfect. I love the fact you take the time to hop on with us with all your other Board of Selectmen responsibilities. That is spot on from a standpoint of consistency throughout all town properties. And yet, again, there may be carve-outs, but we're not the people to make that carve-out. We're going to rely on either legal experts or town staff to at least suggest that. Again, I think that what Tom and I really wanted to do was we saw the article in the paper about Lamont embracing this and figured we really got to start talking about it. I see a hand up, Lori.
I think it's a great idea, and I agree we should go forward with it. And if we do this, I think it's also a sit down with Nick Bolter at the PD, because they're the ones that are going to have to enforce it. No one's going to listen to us if they're out there smoking and we tell them no. So they would have to get a heads up too to know that this is the new rules that are coming out on the town, the parks and recs, and make sure you guys are going to back us up if there's a complaint that somebody's not following the rules.
Good input. Absolutely good input.
Danielle, I think, had something to say too. Or Danielle and Kelly.
Go ahead, Danielle. Sorry.
I mean, I think Chris said it perfectly. I just think if you're gonna say it's all or nothing, I just think it's gonna get really torn through if you're like, well, you can smoke your cigar here, but we won't let you do your, marijuana. Like, it's just, I think, and also I really love the point that he made about that's what we stand for, is the wellness. If I, had my daughter around or somebody, it's a family facility. I know we're trying to compete in the whole business aspect, but like, it's Parks and Rec. It's a family, the farms is a family place. I mean, that's kind of like, when you go there, you just know that you're not on a private. I know you're trying to compete with private stuff, but I just strongly feel like it should be a no smoking policy for all. But I understand there's lots of different layers to this. So,
Kelly,
a lot of police cars out at Simsbury Farms Golf Course.
Yeah, I just wanted to also recognize, Dave, that your point about the golf economic piece is a good one. And frankly, I don't have the expertise to really comment on that because it depends on so many different factors. But I'd love to have the group consider, I don't know whether we do this tonight or at some point down the road, some kind of a position statement that just says, what we think as a group. And it could be very, very general. Obviously the lawyers are going to be the ones that are going to draft this and put this together. But if we have a collective opinion, and perhaps we don't, and that's why this is good for a discussion right now. If we do have a collective opinion, it would be great to express that in a very general way.
Well, and I think it's important here is that, again, Chris's comments, and then this is Dave Bush's opinion, is we are in although we had a booming year, we are in a competitive market where the golf course funds basically the revenue fund and all the other activities we do. And so again, I'm a golfer. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a cigarette smoker, a cigar smoker, pot smoker on the golf course, any of that. But I don't want pot smoking on the golf course. But at the same time, I recognize there is a certain population that enjoys a cigar in the great outdoors. And so I think we just need continued discussion on this.
Well, let me add a little something, because I think it also puts you, Dave, puts me in a somewhat untenable position, being out on the golf course as much as we are, with friends and such, and being a member of Culture Parks and Rec. Do we turn our friends in because they're smoking a cigar?
Oh, that would go over well.
Yeah, I can tell you 10 guys that are regular cigar smokers that I play golf with, or I used to play golf with, that now I'm in a position of telling them to stop smoking a cigar out on the golf course.
Well, and I think even more important, Jerry, is, and again, I appreciate we have a new vendor this year. There were definitely complaints about cigar smoking on the patio. And, although we have a pretty large patio, there's no way you get away with that when the wind's going in a certain direction. And that's not right.
When those guys lit up, I shoot them. I said, go over there.
Yeah, that's not right. So I think that's where I'd love, Chris, your input. I'd love to have the input of our town attorney, and then Tom, you, Kelly, myself, and Jerry. And I don't exclude anybody else. It's just I know Jerry's a golfer. Kelly, you have an opinion about it. Tom, that's your job. I'd like to have a thoughtful presentation eventually about here's the policy we want to move forward with that we eventually present to the Board of Selectmen.
So, Dave, what are the consequences going to be if somebody is doing that when they're not supposed to be? I mean, I don't know what the consequences are on town property. Is it an infraction? I mean, what are the penalties if you catch somebody doing this and they don't want to stop, smoking their cigar, or, other than asking them to leave? That
and again, I think that has to be part of the development of a policy from a standpoint of, we clearly knew from this past year, the law says that, for example, you cannot smoke a cigar or cigarette on that patio area behind Simsbury Farms. So what did they do? Certain individuals simply moved their chairs 1 foot off the patio, and because Ryan had no business relationship, no personal relationship with these people, their relationship was terrible. they did what they were going to do. And that's not the way I want business conducted moving forward, which is why I need to involve the new hospitality vendor as well. We're going to identify specific rules that are comfortable. And I think again, Chris, I appreciate your input. I want the town attorney, but I want my vendor. I want my vendor telling me, here's what I want. Because if he says it ain't going to happen anywhere within a certain proximity, he's my vendor. And if our regulars or our occasional invites don't like it, then let's get it out to the general public on the website, on Facebook. And if we lose a couple customers, so be it, because I think we're going to gain more when a family comes up on a Friday night and they don't have cigar smoke with their, shrimp scampi.
No, I fully support that, David.
Okay.
Very much.
So, Tom, I think, again, I'm really glad you and I talked about this. Let's make sure this is a regular agenda item and a discussion for you, for Kelly and Jerry and I, and any other board member who wants it, because I think we need to do this pretty quickly as the golf season, if Mother Nature helps, might start, pretty quickly.
I think Chris had one more thing he was going to say before your soliloquy.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how many more discussions you really want to have on this, other than possibly putting a request, somebody coming together on the team here, writing a letter with just asking Maria to engage Bob D. That's what Bobby D is there for, evil lawyers. Anybody know any? No, he's at our disposal as an expert, a wonderful asset to it. That's what he's there for. Just put a letter to him saying, if this is with this eventuality coming, how is the town going to address it? How can we fold in the areas that we're responsible for into the other areas of town-owned land that are already tobacco and smoke free, and then go from there. What is his interpretation? I think that's asking him for it. And then before you guys get a whole bunch of different temperature checks from 20 people, just say how would the town respond to this?
No, Chris, again, your input's perfect. Tom, I think the letter, in my opinion, should come from you. And why don't you and I chat outside of the meeting tonight, just to razor sharp the various points that we're looking to get addressed.
So, Dave, is this going to be a town ordinance? Is that what you're looking for?
No,
it would be a policy, not an ordinance.
Okay. So, and if they violate the policy, what is that? I mean, I'm not sure where it's going.
Questions that haven't where the information hasn't been developed yet.
Okay.
No, but I appreciate your concern. Is you're looking for so Tom, again, we're looking for some back end enforcement discussion of what are we allowed to request. I don't know. I think probably the easiest answer is, and usually in most of these is, like it or leave.
Yeah, Laura, you could put, right now I'm about to get back. I just came off of, I don't know how many ordinance special working groups I've been on. I'm about to get put back on one that's going to restart about short-term rental houses in town, which is a kind of a root canal, non-narcotic root canal. But anyways, besides that, that's my personal opinion. I shouldn't have expressed that on public forum. But anyways, you have with a policy like that, you could put something in place where if you guys are solely focused on the golf course, so an idea might be, if a person is they haven't repeated observed infractions, they've been, cited once, twice, or third of violating a policy, you can refuse to sell them a greens ticket. You can put things like that. I could see that in place. If that's where your area of stewardship and concern is, or something. That's how a policy can work. You can enforce it. But you're right. We're all part of a community. It's amongst us to police our fellow selves and also be beholden to the policies that are existing in front of us and hold to them, whether we agree to like them or not. So it's a slippery slope.
Well, hey, Chris, I never heard any one of my commission members say this is like a root canal. So I think that's a good thing. You go and take care of that other meeting, my friend. All right. With that being said, Tom, have we sufficiently covered this for tonight?
Yes, thank you. I will put something together and review it with you and talk to Maria about it.
So let's go into the root canal and thorny subject of the budget.
Okay. So this coming Saturday, the Board of Selectmen will be conducting its annual budget workshop.
The 6th, isn't it?
You're right. I'm sorry. Next Saturday. You're right. The 6th.
Yeah, 2 Saturdays.
Yeah. I'm working from home. My calendar is just, you lose time. You lose track of time. So on Saturday the 6th, the town will be doing its annual budget workshop where each of the departments presents their budgets to the Board of Selectmen. They've been given a chance to review it. The town manager presented her a high-level overview of her budget this past week to them. And the budget is public knowledge. It's posted on the town's website. And I've previously given you all a link to the sections that pertain to the rec departments if you're interested in that. That being said, we are putting together our presentation at this point, but because of the way the budget timeline has worked this year, our last meeting in January, I hadn't yet had our review. I had just completed the town manager review that previous afternoon. So normally we have an early meeting in January to approve rates, which we didn't do this year, where some of the budget details come out with this group. But I wanted to kind of give you a chance to ask any questions, but also give you a chance to hear or see some of the projects that we're looking at, requesting funding for. As far as department operating budgets and revenue budgets, we are assuming that we're going to be operating somewhat more normally this year as compared to the last fiscal year. With the pool, we're thinking it's going to be somewhere between 80 and 90% capacity based on what we know now. The golf course, assuming we have good weather, should be at or near regular revenues. I wouldn't say that, I'd love to see 2020 revenues, but that's, I don't want to jinx it. So, we should be back to a more of a normal revenue season with the golf course. I'm certainly happy about the new vendor being up there. I think that's going to only help us out. But we do have contractual increases. Basically, our budget contains contractual increases for our full-time staff, a few of our part-timers, and then minimum wage increases. That's pretty much where our increases are coming from. We have very little increases in material costs, but the big drivers are always insurance and our contractual increases with union contracts and the like, minimum wage increase in our case. So I don't think there's too many. If you don't have any questions on the operating budget, I'd like just to move to our CNR and capital improvement budgets.
So before we do that, I just want to make sure that Jerry, you're comfortable. Again, you're my numbers guy. Let's focus it on the operating budget. That pretty much is what you expected.
Actually, Dave, you're aware I've sent a letter to the Board of Selectmen through the town clerk.
I'm asking about the operating budget.
The operating budget is part of that because it's dealing with the revenue fund.
All right, I'm going to hold that for now. All right, Tom, back to you.
Yep, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull up the screen I want to share with you on that operating budget. Just give me 1 second. It was all set to go when I started this.
It's amazing that technology we've all had to be told we have to learn whether we like it or not.
Give me 1 second. Okay, it's on my screen. I just got to get it to you.
Your red room is still looking really good, though, Tom. I love that.
I appreciate that. Why isn't this going? Best laid plans here. Why isn't it sharing?
So while Tom's, there he goes.
Aha. Do you guys see the budget screen in one of the budget screens? All right. Let me get to page 146 here. Hold on. Okay. Thank you for your patience with that. So this is right. What you're seeing here is our CNR, our capital non-reoccurring request that we've made of the town this year. And the town manager has chosen to put forward these requests to the Board of Selectmen, and ultimately the Board of Finance may review these, or is going to review these as well. We, as you know, kind of starting at the top here, the various Playscapes, playground refurbishments. We've been on a program where the town manager is working with us to allocate $25,000 a year toward the replacing and fixing up, restoring some of our neighborhood playscapes in town. These are the ones at Terrifield Park, West Mountain Road, Weetog Park. And as we continue to do these, it takes funding, and then eventually after about 6 or 7 years, we'll have some money built up. At this point, we plan on later this spring, early summer, doing the Weetog Park playground over, renovating that one. We've got $25,000 from the previous fiscal year, $25,000 for the one we're in. So that takes that's going to knock off one, and then the $25,000 we're requesting for next year, and then the following year after that will probably go toward the Terrifield or the Weetog Park playground. So that's what that is, and so you're going to see a reoccurring charge over these out in the out years here. Similar to our park sign replacements, you're going to see new signs this later this spring for the Flower Bridge, which the new park does not have a sign, and Simsbury Farms are going to have new signs. We're actually proofing those now. But we have a number of other signs all over town where these Memorial Park or West Mountain Park or Onion Mountain Park, and some of our trail areas that aren't clearly defined. So this $16,000 a year will go toward the cost of 2 to 3, maybe even 4, depending on the size of the sign at these parks. And eventually we'll be caught up on getting all those replaced. If you recall, we talked about a year or so ago about the green and white color scheme and that kind of thing for these entrance signs. So that's what this is.
Tom, can I stop there for one moment?
Yes, sir.
I see 2023, 23, 24, 24, 25. We've got all this money allocated. So first of all, is that money committed? I.e., in other words, we don't spend, we let it accumulate. We don't spend 22, 23, 25,000 because we have a $50,000 project we want to do. Do we preserve those funds?
Well, similar to what I just said with the Playscape, yes, we've held it over from one year to the next in order to, we can do more. We can replace the whole Playscape for 50 rather than just one element of it in at 25. So yes, we can. So although the money in the out years is not yet committed, we're hopeful it would be. That's why it's planned out here to show that there is a plan to do that. But really, the only thing there's nothing beyond this column right here is what we're looking at for what the town's going to commit in the next fiscal year.
What I really wanted just to simply bring to the commission's attention was, although these budget numbers exist in the outlying years, there's no guarantee that will actually occur. It's typical municipal financing. We have to live with it. But I wanted to make sure everyone understood that, whatever this COVID and the economic climate has done doesn't mean, we've got guaranteed $25,000 each of the next 4 years. So that's the only reason I bring it up.
Yep, I appreciate it. I don't want to go through every single item unless somebody has a specific question on one, but I do want to call attention to the ice rink chiller replacement here. You've heard me talking about this the last couple of years. The town has made a commitment as the ice rink has gotten to the 20+ year old now. We've been replacing the major ice rink components. We've repainted the ceiling this past fall. We replaced the condenser earlier this fall. That's a pretty big chunk of change. This spring, we're doing the control panel that controls the chiller and the condenser. And the chiller is the last piece of this that we're requesting. And that basically buys us, it's not an as built new rink, but it's a rink that these components should have a lifespan of 20 to 25 years, 15 to 25 years. So these, we're going to be in a good place for the foreseeable future. They're energy efficient improvements as well, so we are going to save some money as the newer technology is obviously more energy efficient. And then we've also done the lighting this past fall, the LED lighting in the rink this past fall. So made a lot of improvements there. It shows people are seeing it. But these we are an outdoor facility. If our mechanicals aren't up to par, we could lose a sheet of ice in a day with a warm spell. So this chiller is basically what keeps the cold fluids, if you will, underneath our concrete floor cold. So it's something that's needed. And again, this component is at the end of its lifetime, and the town has made a commitment the last few years to rebuild or to replace these major components of the rink. Another major component here, or major request, is the Simsbury Farms Playscape replacement. The town, we've had a request in, that got bumped back out last year for $100,000 in the previous year's budget, and then it would have been $100,000 this year. Because it didn't get approved last year, we are looking for $200,000 to replace the Simsbury Farms Playscape. It's not something where we can renovate it at this point. You can't get parts for that equipment anymore. It's just about 25 years old. And we're finding as things break, we're either going to have to start taking pieces of the equipment of the Playscape off because it can't be repaired at any time anymore.
Is that a complete replacement of all of the equipment?
It would be. Yep.
Okay. And I know you and I discussed it, but for the benefit of the commission, originally there was some funding from outside groups that helped develop that park. Is it your and my understanding those groups are just not financially viable to be contributing?
That's correct, Dave. For those of you who've been in Simsbury a long, long time, the Simsbury Farms Playscape was a project that was partially funded. I don't know to what extent, but partially funded through a major fundraising effort by the Junior Women's Club. As you know, volunteerism is at a premium nowadays. Many of the service groups in town are not nearly as large as they used to be, and some have disbanded. The Junior Women's Club does a lot in town, but their group has certainly shrunk over the years. I just spoke with their president last week, and their membership is less than a third of what it used to be. And COVID certainly has played a part in that, but it's not a project that certainly as we move forward, maybe some amenities there that could be added on by a service group funding, doing a fundraiser. But the major component, the town accepts these things we get through Eagle Scouts and other service groups in town. They accept the responsibility of these things going forward. And this is something, if we want to continue to have a playscape up there that's safe and enjoyable, I guess would be another way to look at it. We're responsible for maintaining this and replacing it. It's the right thing to do. Or we may have to, like I said, we may have to start taking parts of it apart just to make sure it's a safe place for everybody to be.
Well, no, and it's not only the right thing to do, it's even more important than ever with the improvement of the basketball court, the improvement of potential lighting in the basketball court. A family with a young child and a teenager can go up and enjoy that location together. So, I'm fully in support of let's make sure that nothing happens in that budget workshop that takes away that money.
Yep. And I may be reaching out to the board members if you have any questions or whatnot, but if you choose to advocate for one of these projects to the Board of Select, I'll send you the dates of what those meetings are, but should you choose to advocate and you have a question about one of these projects, certainly reach out to myself or Dave. And I will certainly answer any questions that you may have about that. But just what you see in this first column here on the left-hand side, I guess, that's the projects that are in the proposed capital non-reoccurring budget. And again, these are what's left in here are out-year projects. I'd rather not go into a ton of detail on those now in the interest of time, because I'd like to get to the capital improvement projects. If you're good with
go ahead. Tom, move on.
Okay. Tom, I'm going to stop the meeting for near momentum here. I apologize, Dave. I just always ask you folks. I forget quite often when I'm looking at the myriad of ingredients that go into our sausage, right? To look at what's been done before. It's sort of like, you, Jerry, and I, and Sean having to look at the special revenue group, right? So look what's been done before. But you just have the Parks and Rec master plan recommendation that you all have as a guidepost, right? You've paid somebody to tell you about these. So I always remember, we've got the POCD, we've got the charrette, we always have these things that have been done, but we sometimes forget that they're on the shelf to help us as guideposts. As money tightens up this year, as money tightens up going forward and commitments have been made or not made, I'm not trying to tell you the support I'm going to give you or not, but you may be in a position where at some point, one park goes away to make another park viable, right? I think you've got to remember that you've got those guideposts that were put out there potentially by those consultants who brought you. So we always look at, we've got to fund this one, we got to fund this one, we got to fund that one, we got to fund that one. But there's the bigger picture. We can all step back and say, okay, do we not fund this one, but we get that one? Don't forget you guys have that guidance that's there in front of you that you paid for by a consultant to possibly solve for your problems this year and 5 years down the road. There may be tough decisions that have to be made, but that's what you guys are there for.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. You're stealing my thunder for later, though, on the master plan update. So.
I'm sorry. As it relates to Playscapes, that's what I'm just.
No, I appreciate that. The commission has asked for, we're going to do regular updates on the master plan status, and certainly, and I'll speak to it now. The budget requests that we have put forward for these requests reflect items that were identified in that plan, especially the playground and obviously the ice rink and some of the other amenities that we have. But so we are kind of when we're putting our budgets together with an eye on that as well. So it's certainly important to point out. All right.
Any from the commission, any other questions before Tom moves on?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I was part of the junior women's collaboration with Park and Rec way back in the day for the playground. And it was really successful. And I'm wondering if we would be open to a partnership with another group. It may not be junior women's, but it could be another group. Are we open to that?
I don't know why we wouldn't be.
Okay, good.
We haven't been approached. We follow up as grants pop up as well. We try to keep an eye out for those. Unfortunately, I don't want to say it's my experience, but anecdotally, Simsbury and light communities don't always qualify for those grants that may be out there from the larger playground companies looking to, pay for half or 50% or I'm sorry, or a percentage of your total project. But I keep an eye out for those type of things as they come along. I have not been approached by a service group looking for a major project like this. Not to say that certainly we can't, why sit and wait instead of going out. So I understand what you're getting at there, but but no, I mean, we would be open to it. It's not sitting in our lap right now. So
I got you. But if something came your way or we explored something.
Yes. Yep.
Because I've got things cooking. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Great. I just want to make sure before I open my big mouth to anybody.
Years ago, the Rotary Club,
yes,
when we built the Rotary Park and the Boundless Playground.
They did.
That was an identified need based upon accessibility for children. And Rotary took that upon themselves, and they raised well over $250,000 to do the park. It's not to preclude that any one club would have those resources nowadays. But I think from a collaborative point of view, you could get a bunch of service clubs together to do a project such as this.
Agreed. And I'd like to explore that. And if anybody wants to join me, that'd be great. But I would love to do it. But I wanted to make sure I was okay.
I'll join you in that. And I was part of the juniors women's. Unfortunately, I couldn't juggle that and this and everything else. But I would love to, anything I could do to support getting a new playground, because that's pretty much where I live most of my weekends. And it's really important. I can't believe it's been 25 years because I was on there when I was camp counselor, and that makes me feel really cool. But it definitely needs an update. So anything you need, I know a lot of people around it, I'm going to start exploring as well. some people I know.
Kelly, I think the Friends would be happy to participate as well, wouldn't they?
You know what, Jerry? I'm glad you brought it up, but I really can't speak for the Friends on that topic. You know,
they would discuss it.
Happy to discuss it, but you know, again, as an avenue for transfer of funds, I know they're more than happy to in terms of them dedicating time to that fundraising.
No, that's not what I was referring to. But I'm
so yeah, as far as the other piece goes, Jerry, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and Liz and Danielle, I think the other aspect of that would be you probably, at least Danielle, you're out there with the other users to the extent that you just casually bring up a discussion, indicate that we have this mechanism, the Friends, where if somebody wants to donate $500, it's that easy. So
I will bring it up. I don't know, but I can always work my magic. I'll try.
You work your magic. Perfect.
I will.
Yep. I have some connections, so I think we could pull it together.
All right. Well, Liz, Danielle, let's have you stay in contact with Tom. Again, any outside money always helps. We know what the town budgeting looks like. Yeah. Appreciate, that's part of the reason you're on the commission. We appreciate your efforts.
Okay.
Tom, back to you.
Yep. So I've moved over on your screen to the which is the large town projects, and it's listed by department. So if you look at on ours for next year, it's the Performing Arts Center parking improvements. Obviously, you all heard the master plan presentation. This was identified as probably one of the highest needs or need improvements, I guess, in that plan. We have had last year. We had requested money to have a consultant look at the facility, look at that facility and Curtis Park, and give us a good estimate on what funding level would be needed to do the parking area, and taking into account the drainage issues that are over there, the wetlands issues. With that number coming back, that $700,000 request includes drainage work. It includes basically paving the playground paving the area that's where the playground is paved out toward the red barn. It is not paving the road, the access road or access path that goes, kind of behind the dog park and comes up on Iron Horse Boulevard. It is not paving that area. It's just the work needed to pave the back area and back of the band shell. Certainly for accessibility, for safety there. The Simsbury Meadows is used by not only people who use the playground, but people who use the bike trail. A lot of community events take place there. There's been a lot of issues with accessibility from those parking in that lot and getting into the facility, especially those with mobility issues. The town did apply for a grant last year, which we did get awarded for $128,000, which will help us do the accessible parking closest to the facility and accessible pathways throughout the facility. Currently, where there's a lot of stone dust paths that were originally put in, although it's not grass, it's not easy to push a wheelchair or use a walker across those stone dust paths. So the intention is that we will be paving paths not only inside the rock wall, but the area, that loop that goes around the back of the rock wall. That path would also be able to be used by vehicles when we're having events on the field to unload and pick and obviously reload their wares or tables and chairs, that kind of thing. If you've ever been on that field after the flea market or some of those other large events where vehicles have been on the field, it's problematic for the other organizations that use the fields in the days following those events. So our thinking is that path behind the rock wall will be wide enough for a truck or similar type of vehicle to, one way in from the east gate, out on the west gate, and the vehicle never has to put a tire on the field, the grass field. So something to think about along with the ADA accessibility issues there. So that's the request that's going forward next year. You can see some of the stuff that's in the out years. Our golf irrigation system that previously was listed as a project in the upcoming fiscal year has been pushed back a year, and the cost does increase as that project continues to get pushed back. We'd also have to do some dam work at the golf course retention pond, and it is assumed that we will do the dam work and the irrigation system at the same time. The dam up there is basically as old as the golf course is, close to 50 years old. A consultant looked at it last year and recommends that it's going to be required that we do the work on that dam. You see money for restrooms in the out years at the Simsbury Meadows location. Those would be a permanent prefab probably type of structure. So, you'll have family bathrooms down there by the playground, which again was a highly identified need in the Parks and Open Space Master Plan, especially from our focus groups and facility users. You see the splash pad out a little bit further. That's this number. That's a splash pad and refurbishment of the existing bathhouse that's there. And then you see if you go a little bit further out, you see the Curtis Park paving project. That's the large dirt parking lot that's over there. And that's the number that the consultant gave us for that lot. And again, there's drainage and wetlands issues over there that would need to be addressed with there. So it makes those projects a little bit more expensive. Yes, sir. Who's that?
So it's Kelly. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
It'd be a very quick question. Relative to the golf course irrigation system replacement, is it, are we talking about something that's going to affect the quality of play potentially by pushing it out? Is it, what are the, just from a quality of play standpoint, what are the ramifications of pushing it out another year?
So that's a good question. It's a good question. It's that a lot of that equipment's been in the ground over 25 years. It's going to be 25 or more years at this point, Kelly. It's certainly a risk that we could break. One of the main lines could break, and certainly we all know how important water is to a golf course. The staff, as much as we'd like to see it, replaced or get us committed to replacing it, in the coming year.
Yep.
Staff feels like it's they've done a good job of maintaining an existing system, and could we wait another year? In a perfect world, it's done. In the world we live in, it can wait another year.
So just to make sure I heard you right, and I'll let it go after this.
Yep.
No risk of a potentially catastrophic failure of the system that could shut the course down.
I couldn't tell you.
There is a risk.
Yeah, there is a risk. I mean, I can't tell you there's not. There's a risk with a new system.
And $1 million risk, Kelly. You would lose a whole season of golf.
Yeah, and just so we're clear on that, and I'm not trying to advocate on one way or the other, but when it comes to infrastructure, especially putting off deferring maintenance, the other question is, does it tie back to, as Chris pointed out, a specific item in the master plan?
Golf course is not part of the master plan.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I guess I should have known that since I read the whole thing, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
Kelly, once that stuff goes in the ground, there's always a risk that something could happen. I mean, the pump house could be struck. Actually, it was struck by lightning at one point, and the whole system, our building could be where the controls are could have a
Kelly, it's Chris. I think what's important. Well, it's not important. It's just context for the discussion today is that the irrigation system has been a discussion point at the BOS and BOF level for a number of years now, with a fairly, we've had a fairly consistent, board constitution. So the group is aware of it. It's not something new. It's something that is known. It's something that's been discussed, and it's something that none of us are experts on, but we're all aware of the ask and that it is something that needs to be addressed. So it's a function of where do the dollars come from with competing other projects, but it's not something that we're unaware of. So we're all pretty well versed.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually very helpful, and I totally get the piece about.
Expand a little bit, Kelly. This has been on the 6-year capital plan for 5 years, and it keeps getting put out every year. It was supposed to be done last year. I question whether, even if it's in next year's budget, as to whether it would get done.
Gotcha. And so everybody's clear, I'm not a golfer, so it's not like I'm advocating on behalf of the golfing community. It's from the town standpoint. And Chris, I'm glad you brought it up that it's at least getting traction, no pun intended.
I will push back on Jerry to say, Jerry, you do recall that although it has been out there being pushed along. So, and we did the study. So funding a study, I think hopefully at least points to direction of intent at some point as well. So
no, that's understood.
Yeah. So it's moving. How quick is it? How is it? Another 5 or 10 or 15 years? Who knows? Kelly may be living in Florida. I don't know, but I hope it's not.
No, I just at the point where we rely so much on the golf course revenue, if it should fail, it's not something you can just pull off the shelf and replace, because it's a major project, and you got to find somebody that'd be able to do it. So, when I say you're at risk of $1 million, you are at risk.
Yeah, no, it raises the issue that deferred maintenance always carries with it a level of risk. We're at the expected life use of this, but there are competing priorities.
Yep.
And so, to that end, look, I'm not happy it got moved, and I don't think, my personal opinion is, I don't think it's realistic. We're going to get $3.78 million in capital non-recurring or capital improvement in 22-23. I do think we need to get the irrigation system done. I mean, Jerry's absolutely correct. You're risking $1 million, revenue generator last year so that you can deal with competing projects. You can't put it off, Chris, and I appreciate your generality, but you can't put this off for another 3 or 4 years. It cannot be done. It needs to be given the priority it deserves, and because it's a revenue generator. Gee, that made everybody shut up.
Crickets. Any other questions on the capital improvement plan? I just have one more.
You know what? I'll tie that one up in a nice, neat bow and say I'm not going to join Mensa anytime soon, as you probably all are well aware. But from a risk return standpoint, it looks like there's a sizable risk there. And I understand that the Board of Selectmen, who obviously are, way more on top of this than I thought, are given this consideration. But I mean, it's clear based on the conversation here, it's a point of great concern from the commission standpoint, and the potential risk to the town is pretty high.
Well, let me carry it a little further. Every time I see one of the maintenance crew, they keep asking if the irrigation is on the capital project list.
Yeah. So other than, and to sound more obnoxious than I normally do, just make sure the record reflects that there's a genuine, and obviously hard choices. I totally get that. Listen, I totally get that. But that there is a level of concern on our part about that topic.
No, and Kelly, I appreciate that, especially as it comes really. So as you as a non-golfer, you're like, hey, I don't really care about the condition of the golf course. I care about the revenue and how it makes the revenue fund go. I saw the damage done to Wintonbury this year when, as a result of weather, they were without any water at all on the golf course for a period of about 8 or 9 days. And that place was an absolute terrible condition nightmare. And we can only just hope that that doesn't happen here. Again, I understand balancing priorities, but I hope the message in the minutes is enough's enough. It's done next year, because you're just playing with fire if you don't.
Yeah, I think that's a good capsule summary there, Dave. Playing with fire is
very well said, David. Summary.
Tom, back to you.
Thank you. What the page I put up on your screen right now, and this is the last part of the budget presentation, I promise, is the service improvements that the town manager is putting forward for consideration in her budget. You see the top 4 here on the left related to Park and Rec. The most important to me being the facility maintenance technician position. It was close to being funded last year. Unfortunately, I think COVID played a significant part in us not getting that position funded, for the town being able to fund that position last year. There was a lot of angst and anxiety over where revenues were going to go, and certainly treading carefully. That position didn't move forward, but it was close. I'm hopeful that it'll get further consideration this year. I would appreciate any support you'd like to offer on that. But this would really help our parks maintenance crew out. As you know, we lost positions due to retirement over a decade ago. Those positions were not backfilled or funded going forward from there after they retired. And the town has continued to add amenities, not only at Simsbury Farms, but all over town. And this position will really help us out quite a bit. Other, just as important, is the professional development and certifications of our maintenance staff. We no longer have what's called a CPSI. It's a certified playground safety inspector. We don't have the number of aquatics certified pool operators or aquatic facility operators that we should have on staff. These and our pesticide, we would like to get more of our staff pesticide applicant certified. There's no money for it. We don't have any training budget money in our parks budget at this time. So we are asking for a minimal amount to begin getting going on some of these certifications
and we lost training. Pesticide and herbicide trainer.
Yes. So, we need to maintain this. The $2,000 for the dog park is to help fund, water faucet issues we have over there. Some of the equipment is starting to get aged. When the fence break, a tree falls on the fence, that kind of thing. It's a minimal amount, but annually that $2,000 could really help us out. And then obviously community programs at $5,200. Again, we never have had we've had no community program budget. The Board of Selectmen generously funded us at $5,000 last year, and looking to kind of build up on that. Does anyone have any? Yes, Dave.
Tom, how can you maybe perhaps send out an email tomorrow indicating who we need to write to and providing the contact information so that a commission member could, with great ease, send an email report?
Yes, Dave, I had planned on passing that information along if someone desired to write something. So yes, I will pass
Dave, not to be a Grinch, but did we not accept the dog park with the conditions that we would not pay for any ongoing maintenance?
Jerry, I'm more of a realist than I am the idealist of the.
I'm just saying.
I got you. My dog walks by the dog park, looks to the other dogs, and keeps walking. But there's some people that really enjoy it.
I certainly understand that.
Also, reality, Jerry, is we know they have had some struggles with their board and their fundraising efforts, and appropriate hydration for the dogs, for example, has got to be provided. We'll figure it out on the back end about trying to develop a new board.
Yeah, I work with some of the committee members there. They are really good. It's a small but dedicated group, but they do buy their own, the dog poop bags. And they take care of the general maintenance of the park. We typically don't step foot inside the park unless it's a faucet issue or a water line issue. They take care of the weeding in the park. We take care of the weeding out, the weed trimming outside the fence. But again, it's just you have something there, you got to take care of it. A fence could break, or somebody drives into the fence, or whatever it is. More often than not, it's the water line that we're having issues with, and we just need to be able to plan for that expense rather than doing it as an unplanned money every year. Are there any other questions on these four?
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep. I'm talking way more than normal tonight, but one of the things relative to this budget that continues to perplex me is. Given the fact that there are such hard choices to be made, and it's obvious that this is an annual event that is difficult to deal with, it seems to me like we're kind of, we're trying to figure out what as a group we advocate for, and we find that, I'll call it the Goldilocks zone, which is we advocate to a certain extent, but not so much that everybody says we're completely obnoxious and nothing that we're advocating for is really that important. So what I'm trying to come up with is, as a group, and it sounds like, Tom, you've identified a few that are very, very important, that we are somehow able to convey our sense of urgency on those select few, right? to a point where we're able to say, yep, these are really high priority items. We don't want to come across as being obnoxious and say everything is a high priority, right? Because then we don't get listened to. But we also don't want to sit back and say, well, we'll just, wait for everybody else to do their thing. So I guess what I'm trying to get as we walk away from this budget is, what are those really high priority items, Tom, that you would feel, and I'm putting you on the spot, that you would feel pretty bad about if they didn't get done? It looks like to me this park's maintenance technician is one of them. Would that be a correct thing to say?
Yeah, if you're just looking at this, and this is the town manager's document here, not mine, but the listed in the order that I have them, that they're in on this page, would be my order. Okay. Obviously, the maintenance position, and obviously the support, professional development and training goes along with that. Our staff, we have a highly dedicated crew. They take a lot of pride in what they do. I think the town needs to not only show that support with the professional development. A lot of our other departments and across the town have professional development budgets, but we're talking about, like, again, playground safety certification. This is something from a risk management perspective, we should have somebody on staff. I was the staff member 15 years ago who had it. When I left here, my certification lapsed. I haven't picked it up. It should typically it's the park foreman or a park maintainer who has that certification in most towns and are going out and doing these inspections and maintain and correcting any deficiencies. Again, pesticide application just as important with we run a lean staff here. These certifications are important. We want to maintain our not only for the aquatic, for the swimmer's safety, but from a mechanical standpoint, we want to make sure we're running things correctly. The more people we can have trained through, and then attrition will take place too. You always should have a few people with these certifications. You're not always somebody could be on vacation, somebody could retire. We can't just rely on the fact that we have nobody right now who has that certification. We should have at least 2 or 3. You got to account for this type of thing. It's no different than like a CDL license for our truck drivers in town. It's important that they have that level of training to operate that machinery. We should have the same level of a similar level of training for the staff who are operating our $1 million pool or ice rink and so forth. So
Tom,
does that answer your question,
Dave,
Kelly? I talk more than you do tonight.
Well, no worries. But Tom, Dave, and the rest of the commission, is there anything, but specifically to Tom and Dave, because you're kind of leading this charge, is there anything we need to walk away from tonight with that says we are, supporting, or anything along those lines that as a commission we should be doing to be proactive, or are we good?
See, my takeaway would be that I would appreciate any email that commission members could send to the Board of Selectmen about the technician position. To me, boots on the ground is most important. And then secondary to that is the certification. I get the dog park. We'll figure out. Tom's always good about figuring that out. And community programs, yes. But if we had to set a priority, certification and boots on the ground are critical. So again, Tom, I think just you let us know in that email, if you will, what you want us to advocate for. And I agree with Kelly, if we wanted to leave one thing behind or 2 things behind to prioritize the other ones, just make mention of that.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you how you should advocate. I will tell you as you said, I will tell you what, I'll be honest with you and tell you what my preferences are and how important they are to the success of our department.
Well, and I'll wrap it up and say, and of course, we all are very respectful of the Board of Selectmen's time, and we're certainly going to be respectful of the way we present it, so it comes across that way.
Well, and I've always been a believer of, Tom, you're the professional. This is your wheelhouse. We are advisory to you. So you make recommendations. The ones that we feel comfortable with, we're going to support.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
That concludes our budget presentation.
Yeah, let's see if we can now zoom through. Tom, I think this is all you, right?
Yes, yes. Exciting updates from Shea Hospitality. I apologize. I'm going to read. I got an email from them today that I asked for an update, and they're very responsive. So just a couple of quick things on what they're doing. They were doing their second interviews for staffing on site today. They tell me they have a handful of solid applicants for various positions. They had their initial health inspection today up there. They've already relayed to me a couple of things that we'll need to take care of maintenance-wise, but nothing we can't handle. They have applied for their liquor. They have got the liquor license process underway. They have been meeting with their food vendors and suppliers up there this week. And something new that they're doing with our golf professional staff is they're doing a shared Google Calendar for events and bookings, so everybody's on the same page. We didn't always have that level of communication with our previous vendors up there, to my experience. So certainly that's something that's going to help them all out as they move forward with hopefully a very robust banquet and outing business up there. And they've already started to get calls from potential, again, people who are looking to use the facility for private events. So they're excited about that. And we will have an email announcement. I just previewed it before we went live here. That they're going to not only put on their social media page, but they would like us to put it on ours, as well as email blasts out to our golf database and certainly Simsbury recreation database, kind of saying, hey, we're here, we're excited to be here, and they are running a naming contest for the restaurant. And I will share with you the draft of the 4 names that you guys will be the first ones to hear this. So there's four options to vote for, and one you can choose to fill in another. The 4 choices are the Grill at Simsbury Farms, the Hilltop Grill, the Top of the Hill Grill, and the Farms View Grill.
For people or just advertising the place?
Indeed.com.
Sorry, I'm getting input from the Women's Golf League here.
So that email should be going out possibly, if not tomorrow, maybe over the weekend or early next week, we hope. But there, I know just
Tom, again, I apologize to the group. A little interruption there at the Bush family. What were the names?
Sure, I'll go through it one more time. The Grill at Simsbury Farms, the Hilltop Grill, the Top of the Hill Grill, the Farms View Grill. And certainly they're open to other suggestions, so they've left a blank there to type in your own suggestion. I would tell you my initial reaction is I like Top of the Hill Grill or Hilltop Grill. Those are my 1 and 2. I think Top of the Hill Grill kind of rolls off the tongue a little nicely. But so you're going to get an email. You'll all see the email, I promise you, that goes out. You'll have your chance to
Thank you. I just wanted to have some preview of that. And apologize for the inconvenience to everyone.
That's okay. And everybody's got somebody in the background, so that's all right. Participation this is a participation business, so we're good. We're good with that. So any questions on the restaurant? Otherwise, I'll just keep moving on here. I'll take that as a no. I don't see anybody. Oh.
Yeah, none heard. Keep going.
Oh, hold on. I got to take care of Kelly here. I apologize. I didn't see him switch over. So let Kelly get back in, and then if Kelly has any comments related to the restaurant.
No, I'm good.
Kelly, you good?
We got multiple Kellys now.
Kelly, did you have anything to say on the golf restaurant? Did you hear the summary I did?
I don't. I'm good to go. Actually, they were great names, and I thought that the Women's League had some great input as well.
All right. So moving on, the lighting project, obviously the winter we've had with the snowpack and the frozen ground has kind of stalled us out a little bit. They expect to resume construction meetings with us, I think, in 2 weeks. Hopefully the 50-degree weather we're going to have over the weekend and next week will really start to kind of lessen that snowpack up some. And they're expecting deliveries of the actual bases the poles will sit on. Those are supposed to be up at the farms pretty soon over in the golf parking lot. So you'll see those staged relatively soon. But I would think you're going to see from mid-March through probably the end of April, a lot of workers up there trying to get that done in a timely manner. I will skip to the basketball court lighting, if that's all right with you, Dave, to just tie those together.
That's fine.
So the Friends of Simsbury Farms has, I guess, voted to fund the lighting project up to 75% of the total cost. They have some donor who's going to fund through the Friends, and the Friends themselves, with the existing funds they've had, agreed to pay $12,000, which would bring us to about 75% of the funding, contingent upon the town paying the remaining costs, which are expected to be about $12,000. So the total basketball court lighting project for the courts at Simsbury Farms is roughly $48,000, give or take a couple $100. We would like to get that. There's a lot of interest in getting this project done while the lighting construction company is on site. It's certainly advantageous to do that so that they don't have to mobilize a second time, and our projected cost doesn't increase. That cost was based on them being there on site and, again, not having to remobilize. So next week at the Board of Selectmen meeting, we are going to push forward a request to the Board of Selectmen to accept a donation from the Friends of Simsbury Farms. Again, contingent upon the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance being supportive of the additional $12,000 ask in the current year's budget for that appropriation. It's going to be a great add-on to Simsbury Farms. Those courts are heavily used. Certainly, I hope we can find $12,000 to make this happen. It's kind of just coming at the right time. We all saw the use those courts have gotten during COVID, and people have really discovered that amenity up at Simsbury Farms. Word is out, and I think having those lights available will be just one more thing that draws people up there and really make Simsbury Farms the place people want to be. So.
Tom, is that $12,000? This is maybe to Tom and Chris. Is that $12,000 coming out of a Board of Selectmen budget or out of a Park and Rec budget, or a little bit of combination of both? Do we know?
I don't know what the town manager is eyeing for. I believe there's a supplemental account, the capital reserve account that possibly could come out of. I don't anticipate it coming out of the parks budget.
Yeah, that's where that's where I would suspect it would come from at the appropriation out of the supplemental budget.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. So I think if you recall back in the, I may have told you back in the fall when we had the condenser being placed, the steel beam at the rink had rotted out, and that's where we were able to get the funding for that steel beam to be able to move forward with the condenser installation at the ice rink. So it is an account that the Board of Selectmen has, and the Board of Finance have been supportive of funding for unforeseen circumstances, I guess, like this, boilers break or, roofs leak, that kind of thing. And this is, hopefully going to fall into something that they would be supportive of. So they're going to take that up, and then it'll move. If the Board of Selectmen is supportive, it'll move to the Board of Finance for their approval as well, I believe. But we'd like to get that tied up in March so that the construction company can be issued a change order and move forward with that project while they're on site. Any questions? Hearing none. Rink season, youth hockey is going to be wrapping up its season. I believe, if not this weekend, within the next week or so, they're going to wrap up. The high school season is still going. We have a lot of adult rentals. Our plan is right now, I believe, to stay open through at least the third week in March, I think, is where we have rentals booked up. We're still seeing the popular daytime skates quite busy. Those are sold out most days, the 10 to 12, very popular. And we're getting people from all over the state coming out for that. The painting project and the lighting project have been very popular with the rink users. A lot of positive feedback, and John is not here. John Tebow's not here tonight, but his work on the rink this year with our administrative secretary Krista Yard shuffling and reshuffling that schedule and making the contact out to the different rink users. They've gone above and beyond this year with trying to stay on top of it and all the changes, as our whole staff has done for almost a year now. So kudos to them, and the light is at the end of the tunnel for them, and we'll turn the page to the pool season.
No, and can we please make sure that the minutes reflect the commission's thanks for the flexibility and creativeness of John and his staff as it relates to especially the rink and the operation here that we've had to deal with the COVID problem.
So, last but not least is the Parks and Open Space Master Plan update, which we kind of already touched upon. But yes, we are. I have an Eagle Scout. One of the things that came up in the project in the master plan was our trail wayfinding signage is certainly less than desirable. And something Dave and I have spoken about quite a bit. I have been approached by an Eagle Scout who is looking to do a project at Onion Mountain Park this spring and summer. I will be meeting with him relatively soon to kind of get him narrow his scope, I guess, and refine what he's trying to do. But obviously, I think he's looking at trail marking up there, maybe some trail cleanup, maybe I've suggested a information board at the trailhead to kind of we can put the bear warnings and the coyote warnings and a trail map and any other useful information that might be of help to our hikers. But so that's something we're working on. Obviously, the budget requests the budget was set up with an eye on the master plan. Those things that have been listed as major needs or improvements identified: the parking areas, the restrooms, again, trail finding. Our staffing was listed, our understaffing in the Parks Maintenance Division was listed as identified as a need. So our budget is set up with that in mind, and it's something we're going to keep an eye on. And Chris, I appreciate you bringing that up before, because it is important for everybody to know we're not just, I don't have a Christmas list here or, a want list I think would be great. We should put some flowers here or another playground over there. No offense, Kelly, I came out wrong. But, we're doing this because, with an outside perspective, telling us these are the things that our community is in need of. This is what your focus groups have told you should be doing. So we do have some direction, and everything we do is going to be kind of geared with an eye toward that. So if there's no other questions, that's what I have, and I appreciate all of your time tonight.
So is there any other commission member that has any other business they want to bring before the commission this evening?
I would like to just get a clarification, and I apologize for the fact that I've been trying to multitask here, but I guess that's the modern world. The takeaway on the 12 grand delta on the lighting was, if you could just restate that for me, Tom, that'd be much appreciated.
Sure. I'm going to the Board of Selectmen with a request for them to accept a $36,000 donation from the Friends of Simsbury Farms, contingent upon the town funding the additional $12,000 at this time. I guess that's what I'm going them with, not funding it next year.
And if it gets funded, then that instead of being a change order, it could actually be incorporated into the existing work. Is that right?
Yes. Just to clarify that, the basketball court was an alternate in the original contract, so we would basically be authorizing the change order to do the basketball court at this time, rather than remobilizing next fall or the following summer, whenever there is. I think I told you before, the lighting project came back. The bids came back high. We're not doing the entire project. There's going to be a stage 2 in a couple of years where we finish up the access road and that kind of thing, and possibly the tennis court lot too, I think. Sure. But rather than waiting for us to remobilize a year or so down the road, when the town appropriates the money, we're doing it while they're here. And I think it makes sense to do that. There's a lot of advantages to doing it now. And
agreed. And Tom, just since I'm the liaison to the Friends, the word contingent's a little strong. Didn't mean for that to come across that way. It wasn't my choice of words. I think the Friends is basically saying, hey, we'd like to work together as best we can. Obviously, we're hoping that we can get that 12,000. I think that's probably a better expression of our desire. It's the contingents just comes across as a little strong. It feels like there's a little bit of excessive emphasis on that. And really, it's just, let's see if we can't work together. This is the Friends speaking with the town to try and make this happen.
Okay. I'll when I put together the request, I'll have you review it to see if you the Friends ever.
Yeah, just didn't want it to come across as strong arming, because that wasn't the intent whatsoever.
No, I understand, and we all appreciate the Friends offer to in not only working with the private donor, but using the funds that they have put together, their blood, sweat, and tears toward this project too.
Got it.
Well, then It sounds like we've covered everything. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that. Sure.
There you go. Well, again, everyone, thank you very much for participating tonight. Kelly, I hope you're allowed home at some time in the not too distant future. If you're not, maybe there may be some lighting and flower recommendations you can make for the residents in. Other than that, again, Chris, as always, we do appreciate you.